So you opened this in 1989. You'd never worked in a restaurant.
Nope.
Had a background in law.
Yeah.
You know what? We're going to open a restaurant. And what did you think your specialty was? Or what was your specialty at the time?
Also, it wasn't we were going to open up a restaurant. It was I am going to open up a restaurant. And I want to point that out because restaurant and restaurant work was not highly regarded. It is today. People, I used to always say it used to be when I was growing up and I was a young adult by then, when I first opened, that was 36 years ago, people didn't revere the restaurant world. They thought that restaurants were the businesses that you went into as a plan B, something because you had nothing, weren't able to do anything else. And people really, really were disdainful about the industry. So that was one handicap. And then the other handicap is that I was a woman doing it. And that also, in 1989, was considered sacrilege. There weren't a lot of women in food at the ownership level.
Were you married at that time?
Married with 2 kids. I remember I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Pregnant, not knowing I was pregnant with my 3rd. So yeah, I was married, 2 little girls, didn't know as I opened that I was pregnant with my son, David.
And that's a big jump, right? Because I don't know I'm just assuming the salary in law is a little bit higher than the salary of starting a restaurant, right? And you have 3 kids or the 3rd kid on the way. That's not like an easy lifestyle change, right?
No, it wasn't, but I had a calling. I've had a calling regarding food since I was a young girl. I loved what I did in law. I thought it was really important. It was really difficult, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I'm just you have to kind of know yourself, and I've always known myself, and I'm a very purpose-driven person. And I thought that the purpose of my job in the legal world was an incredible purpose, but it did not feed my soul. And I just wanted to do something that fed my soul. It's not like I decided to do food out of like this vacuum of nothing. There was a food scene happening, but it wasn't happening in the Midwest. But it was happening on the coast, as you could imagine. Cities like New York and San Francisco were obviously culinary centers. The culinary centers had not dripped out, right? And also I had the remarkable foresight, or this goes to my kind of purpose-driven life. My goal getting out of high school was to go to Paris. That's all I wanted to do. And I didn't want to go to Paris. This is a long time ago, Nate. I did not want to go to Paris to see all the art and architecture. I did. I mean, I ended up doing that, but I wanted to go truly for what I consider to be the holy grail of cuisine.
Really?
And I was supposed to be there worked all through high school, saved money, took myself to Paris, flew over. I wish I still had that paper ticket with all the copies and the red thing in between, the mimeograph thing. First thing I did was go to a restaurant. I was supposed to stay for 2 weeks. I ended up staying for 3.5 months.
You just call back home to your family and say, "Yep, not coming home. Sorry."
No, I called back to my family and said, "I need money. I'm out of money." And because I had stayed much longer, but everything was less complicated. Everything was cheaper. This is in the days where you were using maps, like real maps. And it was also in a day when you didn't have these top 10 lists. You weren't living by the list. You were living by actually getting out and doing things. So talking to people, getting recommendations in real time, everything about it was less complicated, but also in a sense a little more complicated because you had to do the work on the ground.
Yes, it wasn't just you couldn't just go look at Google reviews and then rank by highest stars or most reviews or whatever. You had to go ask people.
Or you had to actually walk in a place and try it yourself and take notes and then recommend it to somebody or have it be recommended, that kind of thing.
So were you this seems like you're kind of a risk taker, right? You graduate high school and you fly across the Atlantic to hang out for 3.5 months in Paris, or you leave a career in the legal field to open up a restaurant. That seems like you're kind of a risk taker.
I am a risk taker. It has been said about me before by people who worked for me that I like to fly the plane as I'm building it. And I take that as a compliment. I also have always said about myself that I'm someone who just dives into the deep end of the pool. And I'm also not, as I think most risk takers are, I am not afraid of failure. I don't think failure is the worst thing. So we live in an era of where if someone opens a restaurant and it closes, the IBJ runs 10 days of articles on it. It's the headline, as if it is the mortal sin. And I'm like, no, these are people who have tried something. And for whatever reason, whether it's financial, emotional, personal, I don't know what the reason is. For whatever reason, they decide to try something else or to get out of it. No fault. I am like, go. You make that decision.